The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. I should have driven her home, wished her well, and erased the whole thing from my life. That would have been the safe choice, the smart choice. But I did not make the smart choice that night, and what happened after changed everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and myself. Before I tell you the rest, you need to understand something about me. My name is Jake Mercer. I sell insurance in Tucson, Arizona. I am not bold. I am not the guy who takes big risks or makes dramatic moves. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, and I repeat. My life is simple. Some people might call it boring. I used to call it stable. After a while, I just called it normal. I was 29 when all of this began. I lived in a small one-bedroom apartment with a kitchen that barely fit 2 people. My couch was second-hand, bought from a shop on 5th Street. I drove a used Honda Civic that needed new brakes. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. I had a steady job, coworkers who liked me, and a quiet kind of loneliness that I had grown so used to, I stopped noticing it. 2 years before that night, my girlfriend Mia left me. There was no screaming, no broken plates. She sat across from me at my tiny kitchen table and told me I was too comfortable being ordinary. She wanted someone bold, someone who chased dreams with her. Someone who made life feel bigger. I was not that person. 3 weeks later, she moved to Chicago for a new job. I stayed in Tucson, same apartment, same job, same routine. Her last words to me were simple. She said, "You're a good man, Jake, but good isn't enough for me." I carried those words with me for months. I turned them over in my head again and again until I finally decided she was right. I was not enough. So I stopped trying to be more. That was the version of me who walked into a charity art auction in Scottsdale on a Saturday night in October. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. My boss Frank had bought a table for our office and made it clear that showing up was not optional. I put on my one good suit, the dark blue one I had worn to job interviews, and drove 40 minutes to a place where I felt like I did not belong. The room was bright and loud with quiet conversations. Crystal glasses clinked. People wore clothes that probably cost more than my rent. Soft music played while men in perfect suits talked about deals and investments. I grabbed a glass of water and stood near the back wall, trying not to look out of place. I was staring at a painting of ocean waves hitting rocks when I heard it. Not loud crying. The quiet kind. The kind someone makes when they are trying hard not to be heard. I turned slowly and looked past a tall green plant in the corner. And there she was. Linda Castellano. Mia's mother. I had not seen her in almost 2 years, but I knew her face right away. I used to sit at her dinner table on Sunday evenings. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. She would serve pot roast and smile at me in that soft way that made me feel welcome. But the woman standing in that corner did not look like the one I remembered. Her shoulders were pulled in tight. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was smudged under one eye where she had wiped away tears. She wore a beautiful dark green dress, but it hung on her like she had lost weight she could not afford to lose. She looked smaller somehow. I almost turned around and walked away. Seeing her brought back everything about Mia. About not being enough. About being left behind. The last thing I wanted was to talk to my ex-girlfriend's mother at a party I did not even want to attend. But then I saw her press her hand over her mouth to stop the sound of another sob. Her other hand was shaking, not a little, shaking like she was freezing. Except the room was warm. Something in my chest would not let me ignore that. "Mrs. Castellano," I said quietly. She jumped like I had startled her. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. For a second, her face went blank. Then she recognized me. "Jake," she said. Her voice sounded tired, not the kind of tired that comes from missing sleep. Something deeper than that. I didn't know you'd be here. Work thing, I said. Are you okay? She let out a short, dry laugh. Do I look okay? I did not know how to answer that. People walked past us laughing, holding wine glasses, completely unaware that this woman beside me was barely holding herself together. Richard was supposed to come with me tonight, she said. Richard Castellano, Mia's father, a tall man who always wore perfect suits. He made money in real estate and owned the company sponsoring the event. He called an hour ago and said he had a meeting, she continued. Always a meeting. She wiped her eyes again. He told me to call a car service when I'm ready to leave, like I'm just another appointment. I'm sorry, I said. It was the only thing that felt real. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. She looked at me for a long moment. You always were kind, Jake, she said softly. Mia didn't deserve you. That hit somewhere deep. I looked down at my shoes. I should probably go, I said, suddenly uncomfortable. Wait. She reached out and grabbed my arm. Her hand was cold and trembling. I can't go home yet. I can't walk into that house and sit there alone. I can't. I recognized that feeling. I had lived with it for months after Mia left. Do you want to get coffee? I asked. She shook her head. Not here. Somewhere no one knows me. Somewhere I can breathe without being Richard Castellano's wife. And that is how I found myself, walking Linda Castellano through a parking lot full of expensive cars toward my old Honda Civic. She did not say a word about the car. She just got in and stared straight ahead. I started the engine and drove away from Scottsdale toward Tempe. The city lights blurred past us. We sat in silence for 10 minutes. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. Then she turned toward me. Jake, she said quietly, can we go someplace alone? My hands tightened around the steering wheel. My mind went blank and then filled with too many thoughts at once. This was Mia's mother, the woman who once handed me pot roast and told me I had kind eyes. Every smart part of me wanted to turn the car around. Mrs. Castellano, I'm not sure that's... I started. I'm not trying to start something, she said quickly, her voice cracking. I just need to not be at home, just for an hour. Somewhere I can think. I looked at her in the glow of the dashboard lights. She did not look like a woman trying to cross a line. She looked like someone who was running out of air, so I kept driving. I know a place, I said, and I had no idea the decision would pull me into a story I could never have imagined. We pulled up to a place in Tempe called the Amber Room. It was not flashy. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. It sat between a used bookstore and a small noodle shop, easy to miss if you were not looking for it. A faded purple awning hung over the door. Warm light spilled out onto the sidewalk. It was the kind of place you went when you did not want to be seen. I had started coming there months after Mia left. On nights when my apartment felt too quiet, I would sit in a booth, listen to music, and disappear into the crowd. No one asked questions. No one cared who you were. I parked half a block away. Linda still had not said a word since I told her I knew a place. When I turned off the engine, she looked at me. What is this place? She asked. Somewhere with life, I said. Music. Strangers. Nobody knows us. Something softened in her face. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and old leather. Brick walls were covered in black and white photos of musicians from years ago. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. A woman with short gray hair stood on a small stage singing something slow and sad, while a man played piano behind her. The music filled the room without demanding attention. We slid into a booth near the back. A candle flickered between us, throwing soft light across her face. A waitress came over, calm and patient. Whiskey, Linda said right away. A double, neat. I ordered water. When the drinks came, Linda took a real drink, not a polite sip. She closed her eyes as the whiskey went down. When she opened them, they were wet again, but different. Not just sad. Heavy. I used to make things, she said suddenly. I leaned forward. What kind of things? Sculptures, she said. Clay, bronze, sometimes stone. Her voice grew softer, almost distant. Before I married Richard, I had a small studio in my apartment. Nothing fancy, just good light and tools everywhere. I would spend hours shaping something out of nothing. It felt like magic. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. I had never heard Mia mention that. What happened? I asked gently. She let out a short laugh, but there was no humor in it. I married a successful man. That happened. She stared into her glass. Richard said the mess was inappropriate. Said the smell bothered him. Suggested I join charity boards instead. Help choose art for his buildings instead of making my own. She placed the glass down carefully. He made it sound reasonable, like he was helping me grow up. So I packed up my tools and became Mrs. Richard Castellano. The music drifted over us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I get it, I said quietly. She looked at me. I stopped living after Mia left, I admitted. I just went through the motions. Work, home, sleep. I told myself it was safer that way. She studied me like she was seeing something new. You're lonely, she said. I'm careful, I corrected. She held my gaze. Lonely is what happens when you're careful for too long. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. Her phone buzzed on the table. Richard's name lit up the screen. Once, twice, 3 times. She did not answer. Another buzz. A text this time. He's checking inventory, she said flatly. The phone buzzed again. She flipped it face down. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I can't be his accessory. I would rather be nobody than be his nothing. You're not nobody, I said. She looked at me then in a way that made my chest tighten. Jake, she said softly, I think I'm ready to leave him. The words hung there, real, heavy. Does it feel real? I asked. She lifted her head. Her eyes were steady now. Yes. We stayed there another half hour, not talking much, just listening to music, breathing. When we finally stepped outside, the night air felt colder. I drove her back toward Scottsdale, close enough that she could call a car service without Richard knowing exactly where she had been. Before she got out, she turned toward me. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. If I do this, she said, it will get complicated. For me, maybe for you. I know, I said. She nodded and stepped out of the car. The next morning, I found out just how complicated. My phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. It was a voicemail from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me listen. Jake Mercer, a calm male voice said. This is Richard Castellano. I understand you spent some time with my wife last night. I would suggest you think carefully about the situations you involve yourself in. Some things are more complicated than they appear. Interference rarely ends well. The message ended. I listened to it 3 times. It was not loud. It was not angry. It was controlled. Cold. He knew. My stomach tightened, but something else happened too. Something cracked open inside me. For 2 years I had played it safe, avoided risk, avoided feeling. Now someone was telling me to step back. At 7:23, my phone buzzed again. It's Linda, the text read. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. I got your number from Mia's old contacts. I hope that's okay. My heart jumped. Are you okay? I wrote back. I called a divorce attorney this morning, she replied. Grace Hartley. I have a meeting tomorrow. Jake, I'm actually doing this. I stared at the screen. That's good, I wrote. That's really good. I'm terrified, she sent back. Being scared means it matters. I told her. There was a pause. Can we talk after my meeting tomorrow? She asked. Somewhere public. I should have said no. Every logical part of me said this was dangerous. Instead, I typed, coffee, somewhere neutral. I'll be there. The next afternoon, I arrived early at a cafe in Mesa. When Linda walked in, I barely recognized her. She wore jeans and a simple cardigan. Her hair was loosely pinned up. No heavy makeup. No polished mask. She looked lighter. I did it, she said as she sat down. I signed the papers. I'm filing for divorce. How do you feel? I asked. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. Like I'm standing on a cliff, she said, but I can breathe. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Grace warned me, she continued. Richard will fight. He'll try to make me look unstable. He'll talk to people, dig into everything. You mean me? I asked. Her expression shifted. Jake, I'm sorry. I didn't think about what this would mean for you. He already called, I said quietly. Her face went pale. I played the voicemail for her. When it ended, she whispered, You need to walk away from me. I leaned back in my chair. No. She blinked. This will get ugly, she said. I spent 2 years fading because I was afraid of ugly, I replied. I'm done fading. A tear slid down her cheek. This is crazy, she said softly. Probably, I said, but crazy feels better than numb. We sat there, surrounded by the normal noise of the cafe, and made a choice neither of us fully understood yet. And that was when everything truly began. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. The next 6 months did not explode all at once. They pressed down slowly, like weight added a little at a time, until you suddenly realized you could barely breathe. Grace Hartley had warned Linda from the start. Men like Richard did not let go quietly. They did not shout. They did not slam doors. They used paperwork. Phone calls. Quiet pressure. They planted stories and let other people spread them. 2 weeks after Linda filed for divorce, a small article showed up on a local society blog. No names, no direct claims. Just vague lines about a respected businessman's wife behaving strangely at a recent charity event. I read it at my kitchen table before work and felt my jaw tighten. Then another piece appeared. It hinted that Linda had stepped back from her charity work because she was overwhelmed. A source close to the situation claimed she seemed unstable. That phrase made my blood run hot. A source close to the situation. I knew exactly who that source was. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. I saw Linda every couple of weeks during that time. Always in public. Always careful. A coffee shop in Chandler. A bench at a park in Gilbert. A crowded diner in Mesa. We understood that Richard had eyes everywhere. One afternoon, she showed me her phone. Text messages from women she had called friends for years. Women from her book club, her yoga class, her tennis group. One suggested she take time to focus on herself. Another hinted that maybe she needed professional help before making such a big decision. A third simply stopped replying at all. They are not pulling away because they believe I am falling apart, Linda said quietly. They are doing it because someone told them it would be smart to. I wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand, but the cafe was busy. Too many strangers. Too many chances to be seen. You are the most yourself I have ever seen you, I said instead. She looked tired, deeply tired. But there was steel in her eyes now. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. Grace says it gets worse before it gets better, she said. Richard's lawyers hired a private investigator. They are going through everything. My credit cards, my phone records. They asked about you. My stomach tightened. What did you tell them? Quote, the truth, she said without hesitation, that you are a friend, that you helped me on a difficult night, that nothing inappropriate happened. She held my gaze, and that is true. It was true, but that did not stop Richard from trying to twist it into something else. Settlement talks dragged on for weeks. Richard's lawyers sent offers that looked generous on paper, big numbers, comfortable arrangements. But every offer came with conditions. Linda could not speak publicly about the marriage. She would have to sign away certain properties. She would agree to evaluations to prove she was mentally stable. Each condition felt like another leash. Grace fought back. She built a quiet case. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no emails, showing Richard dictating Linda's schedule down to the hour. Text messages tracking her location, security footage from their home that showed years of distance, separate bedrooms, silent dinners, two strangers sharing a house. It was not dramatic. It was worse. It was empty. Through all of it, I kept going to work. I kept selling insurance. I kept answering emails and pretending my life was normal. But my mind was never fully there. At night, my apartment felt different. Not numb like before. Now it ached. It ached because I cared about someone and could not fix what was hurting her. Then, in late February, Linda called instead of texting. I was sitting on my couch reading when my phone rang. The second I saw her name, my heart sped up. "It's done," she said. 2 words. But they carried months of weight. "We settled," she continued. "I signed the papers this afternoon. It's over." Relief hit me so fast, it almost made me dizzy. "How do you feel?" I asked. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. "Terrified and free," she said. "I took less than Grace wanted me to fight for. I could not survive another month of this. Richard can keep his houses and his image. I just want it out." "Where will you go?" I asked. "I am staying with my sister for now," she said. "But I am looking at apartments. Small places, good light. Enough space for a studio." There was a pause. "Jake," she added, and her voice changed slightly. "I start teaching next week. The community center in Mesa hired me to run a beginner sculpture class. 15 people signed up." I smiled without even thinking about it. "That is amazing," I said. "I have not taught anyone in 20 years, she admitted. "What if I am terrible?" "You will not be," I said. "You are going to be incredible." We talked for almost an hour that night. Not about Richard, not about lawyers, about her students, about a documentary she had watched, about the book I was reading. Small, normal things. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. When we hung up, my apartment felt different again. Not empty, not heavy, just quiet in a way that felt peaceful. 3 weeks later, I volunteered at a community art fair in Mesa. I did not know Linda would be there. I was carrying a folding table when I saw her walking through the crowd. She looked different. Comfortable jeans, hair pinned up simply. She moved with ease. No mask, no performance. "Jake," she said, smiling wide, "I did not know you would be here." "Volunteer work," I said. "What about you?" "The art center has a booth," she said proudly. "2 of my students are showing pieces." We walked through the fair together. She told me about a teenager in her class who barely spoke at first, but now talked non-stop about his projects. A retired man who made his first bowl and could not stop smiling when it held water. The pride in her voice was real. It filled the space around us. As the sun began to set, she stopped walking and turned toward me. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. "Jake," she said carefully, "I need to ask you something, and you can say no." My heart started beating faster. "Would you want to have dinner with me?" she asked quickly. "Not as someone who helped me, not as a favor, just Linda and Jake." I did not hesitate. "Yes," I said, "absolutely." Relief washed over her face. "I am 59, she added softly. "You are 32, and I am your ex-girlfriend's mother. People will have opinions." "I do not care about that," I said. She let out a small laugh. "I spent 20 years caring what people thought. I am done with that." We made plans for Friday, a small Italian place in Tempe. That dinner was easy. We talked for hours, about childhood, about family, about places we wanted to see, about the quiet moments that make a life. At one point, she looked at me and asked, "That night when I asked you to take me somewhere private, what made you say yes?" I thought about it honestly. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. "You sounded like someone who was drowning," I said, "and nobody else could see it. I could not walk away from that." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You threw me a lifeline," she said softly. We kept seeing each other after that. Dinner turned into weekend drives through the desert with the windows down. She taught me to work with clay in her sister's garage. My attempts collapsed into shapeless lumps, and she laughed in a way that made me feel lighter than I had in years. 3 months later, I stood at her first small gallery showing in Mesa and watched her talk to strangers about her sculptures. She glowed, confident, alive. When we walked to my car afterward, I turned to her. "I am proud of you," I said. She looked at me, steady and sure. "Jake," she said, "I love you." My breath caught. "I know it has not been that long," she continued, "but I love you. You remind me what it feels like to be seen." Relief and joy hit me at the same time. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. "I love you too," I said. And for the first time in a long time, I was not being careful. I was being real. We took things slow after that. Not because we were unsure, but because we both understood how rare it was to find something honest after so much noise. Linda found a small apartment in downtown Phoenix with huge windows and enough space for a real studio. I helped her move in. We carried boxes up 3 flights of stairs. We painted the walls the soft color she picked. We set up her pottery wheel near the window where the afternoon light hit just right. It felt simple, but it also felt like building something solid, piece by piece. But a year after that first night at the auction, we were standing side by side in her studio on a quiet Sunday morning. Clay dust floated in the air. Sunlight poured through the windows. She was trying to teach me how to throw a bowl on her wheel. I was terrible. The clay wobbled and collapsed under my hands. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. She laughed and covered my fingers with hers, guiding them gently. "You're overthinking it," she said. "Just feel it." "It feels like a mess," I said, watching my bowl slide sideways. She stopped the wheel and looked at me. Clay covered both our hands. There was no makeup, no audience, no pressure, just us. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for seeing me when I felt invisible, for not walking away that night." "You did the same for me," I said. "I was sleepwalking through my life. You woke me up." We washed our hands at the small sink. We made lunch in her tiny kitchen. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches and iced tea, but it felt full, real. For the first time in years, I was not afraid of what people thought. I was not trying to be enough for someone else's idea of bold or impressive. I was simply present. That was the calm part of our story. The storm came later. One evening, about 3 months after her gallery showing, Linda got a letter. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. It arrived in a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single page. No greeting, no signature, just a printed message. "You think you won. You didn't. Some mistakes follow you." She showed it to me with steady hands, but I could see the tension in her jaw. "It's him," she said quietly. Richard never contacted her directly after the settlement. That was part of the agreement, but he did not need to speak to be heard. "He wants to scare you," I said. "He wants to remind me that he can," she replied. For a moment, I felt that old instinct rise up, the one that told me to step back, to protect myself, to avoid the complicated mess. But then I looked at her. She was not the woman crying behind a plant at an auction anymore. She stood taller now. Stronger, not unafraid, but unwilling to shrink. "What do we do?" she asked. "We do nothing," I said. "We don't give him the reaction he wants. We keep living." She searched my face. "You're not afraid?" The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. "I am," I admitted, "but I'm more afraid of going back to who I was before." That answer seemed to settle something inside her. The letter went into a drawer. Life continued. A few weeks later, Mia called me. I had not heard her voice in almost 3 years. I stared at my phone before answering. "Jake," she said carefully, "I heard about my mom." "Through your dad?" I asked. She sighed. "He tells his version. I wanted to hear yours." There was a long pause between us. Old history sitting quietly in the space. "I didn't plan any of this," I said. "That night at the auction, she just needed someone." "And now?" Mia asked. "Now I love her," I said. The words felt heavy but true. Another silence. "She's happier," Mia said finally. "I can see it. I haven't seen her like this in years." Her voice softened. "Take care of her." "I will," I said. When the call ended, I felt something close inside me. Not regret. Not guilt. Just closure. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no. That winter, Linda held her first solo exhibition. Not a small community center display. A real gallery in downtown Phoenix. Her sculptures filled the room. People moved slowly around them, reading the small cards beside each piece. One sculpture stood near the center. It was tall and abstract, shaped like two forms leaning toward each other. Close, but not touching. The title read, "Lifeline." I stood in the back of the gallery and watched her talk to visitors. She looked alive. Not performing, not careful. Just herself. Later that night, when the crowd thinned, she walked over to me. "Did you see the title?" she asked. "I did," I said. She took my hands. "I made that piece thinking about the parking lot," she said softly. "About the moment I asked you to take me somewhere alone." I remembered the way my hands had tightened on the steering wheel, the way every safe instinct told me to turn around. "You almost said no," she said, smiling slightly. "I know. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no." "What stopped you?" I thought about it for a long second. "I was tired of being ordinary," I said. "Tired of being careful, and I saw someone who needed air." Her eyes filled, but she did not look fragile. She looked grateful. "Sometimes the bravest thing isn't loud," she said. "Sometimes it's quiet," a yes whispered in a car. I pulled her into my arms in the middle of that gallery. Not caring who saw, not worrying about opinions, not thinking about age or history or complications. A year later, we stood in that same studio on another Sunday morning. The windows were open. The air smelled like clay and fresh paint. She placed a small ring box on the table between us. "Before you panic," she said quickly, laughing at my expression, "I am not asking you to marry me today." I let out a breath. "I just wanted to tell you something," she continued. "For 20 years I thought love meant shrinking, making myself easier, smaller, more convenient. The night my ex-girlfriend's mother asked me to take her somewhere alone, every part of me knew I should say no." She slid the box aside and took my hands. "With you, love feels like expansion, like breathing." I looked at her and realized something simple. The man who walked into that auction a year and a half ago would have run from this. He would have avoided the risk, the opinions, the complications. But that man was gone. "Whatever comes next," I said, "I'm not going anywhere." She smiled in that quiet way that first made me feel welcome at her dinner table years ago. Sometimes love starts with fireworks. Ours started with a woman in a green dress asking for 1 hour of air. And a man who finally chose not to say no,